Oh, hello everyone. I'm Brian, and today my topic is the most influential person in 2021. And from the picture on the right-hand side, I think you guys can guess the person I'm gonna introduce to you today. That's the current president of the United States, Joe Biden. And the reason I choose Joe Biden is because he appeared in some crucial events in 2021, and I also has an interest in politics and global situations. And here's my contents. The first part is the introduction, and I will briefly talk about Joe Biden's background, and I will mainly focus on his experience as a politician. And the second part is the main discussion, and in the main discussion, I will talk about three main points why I consider him as an influential person. And the first part is the introduction, and I will mainly talk about Joe Biden's background and focus on the experience as a politician. And the second part is the main discussion, and I will talk about three main points why I consider him as an influential person in 2021. And the last is the conclusion. And the first part is the introduction. And here's some background of Joe Biden. So Joe Biden started his politician career at 1972. At that time, he was elected to the United States Senate from Delaware and became the sixth youngest senator in the U.S. history. And he was the chair or ranking member of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee for 12 years and was influential in foreign affairs when Obama was the president. And he also chaired the Senate Judiciary Committee from 1987 to 1995. And at that time, he dealt with drug policy, crime prevention, civil liberties issues, and he passed the Violent Crime Control and Law Enforcement Act and the Violence Against Women Act. And he was Obama's vice president after they won the 2008 presidential election. And at that time, he was the fourth most senior sitting senator. And as a vice president, he leaned on his experience and dealt with many influential issues, such as the Budget in Control Act of 2011, which resolved the debt crisis. And he took a leading role in designing the withdrawal from Iraq in 2011. So from this background, we can know that Joe Biden has plentiful experience during his career and he has worked in many positions in the government. And that's why some American people trust him and vote for him. And and then I will talk about the main discussion. And here I list three main points why I think he is influential. The first point is he is leading the US back on the old path. And the second point is the withdrawal from Afghanistan. And the last point is the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021. So let's talk from leading the US back on old path. So during the 2021, Joe Biden has signed several executive orders, including rejoining the Paris Climate Agreement, directing the US to rejoin the WHO, and ending the state of national emergency at the border with Mexico. And one interesting thing is that these executive orders Joe Biden has signed are the orders that against the Donald Trump's policy. So I think I can make a short comparison between the Donald Trump's and Joe Biden's leading path. So under Donald Trump's leadership, the U.S. become more selfish and care about its own. And the one significant example is that during his presidency, the United States rejected the Paris Agreement in order to develop its own industry. However, under Joe Biden's leadership, the America shows a totally different attitude, which is more willing to participate in global issues and more willing to collaborate with other countries. So that's why Joe Biden has signed these orders like rejoining the Paris Climate Agreement. Also, these two leaders have different attitude on the China's issues. Like Donald Trump, he sees China as an enemy country and offended it in many ways. Like the trade war between China and the US that affected the whole world's economy. On the other hand, many scholars predict that Joe Biden will follow the old ways like Obama did. That's to view China as a competitor and a collaborator, and hope that the leader from China and Taiwan can have a negotiation. And my opinion of its main point is that the huge change of the leading path of a leading countries such as U.S. may have an enormous influence on the whole world. Like during the Donald Trump presidency, the opposing of the U.S. and the China influenced the whole world in many aspects, such as military and economy. And now Joe Biden comes and giving a completely different leading styles, and it may change the world history will happen. And my second main point is the withdrawal from Afghanistan. And I believe that many of you have heard this news at the last summer. So the withdrawal was began in 2020, and under the provisions of a February 2020 U.S. Taliban agreement, and it set the May 1st, 2021 as a deadline. And in July, Biden addressed the withdrawal and said the following sentence: "The likelihood there's going to be the Taliban overrunning everything and owning the whole country is highly unlikely." However, the results turns out that in August 15, the Afghan government collapsed under the attack of Taliban, and their president Ashraf Ghani fled the country. And Biden's regard is ordering 6,000 U.S. troops to assist the evacuation of the Afghan allies and Americans. And after this event, Biden faced criticism for the withdrawal, with the evacuation that was described as chaotic and botched, and for his silence during these days. And for my opinion, I think that is a huge event that shocked the whole world and changed the situation in the Middle East area. However, it was not a good news for Joe Biden because after this event, many people around the globe started to suspect whether he has a correct viewpoint at the global issues. And the last main point is the America Rescue Plan Act of 2021, and it was signed at March 11, 2021. And at that time, it was the first anniversary of COVID-19 being declared a global pandemic by the WHO. And the Plan Act was designed to speed up the U.S. recovery from the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic and the ongoing recession. And the details of it is like direct payments to most Americans, an extension of increased unemployment benefits, the expansions of health insurance subsidies, or the support for local government and small business. And these measures are most based on the CARES Act from March 2020 and the Consolidated Appropriations Act. And my opinion of the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021 is this is a plan that can save tens of thousands of lives based on the vaccine program. And it can reduce the child poverty rate and help invigorate the economy. And this is also the point that the Time News consider Joe Biden as the influential person in the 2021. In the last part is the conclusion. And I think after Joe Biden became the new president of the United States, the U.S. showed a different attitude at dealing not only the inner, but also the global issues. And under his leading, the U.S. became more friendly to other countries, like ending the emergency on the border of Mexico. And he's also become more friendly to other racial. And from the three main points, I cannot briefly tell that whether he is a good president or not. But one thing I can ensure is that this man truly affects the world as a new president of the United States, and he will keep influence the whole world in the future. And that's all my presentation. Thank you.
Right, so thank you very much. Right, I think so. Brian has offered some overview of this famous leader of the U.S. So now, can we start with any questions or comments? Yes, Ray?
Hey, well, I believe that Joe Biden is exactly an influential person, but I want to know, what do you think about his partner of the vice president, Kamala Harris, who is the first colored woman in the whole history of America, and I know that, and I remember that during the election period in the 2020, then the discussion about Kamala Harris is maybe a slightly more, I think maybe slightly more than Joe Biden. So I want to know, despite Joe Biden, what do you think about his partner, Kamala Harris?
I did not do much research about Kamala Harris, but I think in the conclusion I talk about that Joe Biden tried to become more friendly to other racials, and his cabinet can also reflect the attitude, and like he pick African and colored people as his vice president, and he also picked Chinese people as the into his cabinet. So I think from his cabinet, we can see that he wants to become more friendly to other race people. However, I did not do much research about Kamala Harris.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Ray, for the question. Yeah, I think the question is also quite important. I think right now maybe some Americans also question whether Ms. Harris would be a fitting vice president. But I think that can still be discussed. I think I also saw another hand from Justine. Yes, please.
Do you think there are any personal traits to making the one of the most influential?
Can you say that again? I cannot hear it very clearly.
Do you think there are any personal traits to make him be the one of the most influential?
Personal traits. I think not. I think I think he is the most influential person because I think it's most in my opinion, I think it's most based on the withdrawal from the Afghan, because it truly changed the whole world's situation, not only in the Middle East area, because after the Taliban occupied the whole Afghan, the Middle East area become more, how to say, there is not a great power to control that area. So I think why Joe Biden's become the most influential people is because the global issues.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Justine, for the question. Yeah, I think the question is quite challenging. Yeah, but I think I do agree with what Brian just said. I think Biden has really made a tremendous amount of effort in somehow in maybe reestablishing the U.S. diplomatic ties with many countries and international organizations. Very good. Before we continue, do you have any other question or comment? Yes.
I would like to ask Brian that you mentioned in your slide that Joe Biden leading the U.S. back on the old path. Do you think this policy results in some some negative consequences?
Negative consequences? I think not, because I think that during the Donald Trump's presidency, that his policy is to against the China, but I think the result is not benefit to America, because like the trade war, that I think is truly doing the damage to America's economy. And also he had to spend a lot of military, like to protect the east coast of the Pacific, and this is a great cost. So I think after Joe Biden become the new president, and the opposing of the China and America will become relief, and maybe they can stop the negotiation and restart some trade between others. And I think it will benefit the American people.
Yeah, thank you, Brian. Yeah, I think we have some really difficult questions, but I think you handled the questions quite well. Okay, so let's give Brian a big hand. Thank you very much for the presentation. Okay, I think we may still have maybe we can still maybe have one more presenter. I think maybe we can still have Janice before we end today. This means that we may run a few minutes late. I hope it's okay with you. All right. So now, Janice, if you're ready, then we can move on to you.